We'll be back, and thank you so much for joining us once again. I'm with Council Rufunya Derek, and we are discussing narcotics and illicit drug use in Uganda and some of the harmful social and health effects that come from this. Now, we've discussed largely in our first part of the show some of course, the things that have been adjusted in the laws after the Constitutional Court actually nullified the narcotics law or act here in Uganda. But when we come to the ground, looking at the basics, Council, the usage of drugs starts way back. When you look at kids nowadays in schools, parents are facing various challenges with, of course, giving more time to their children, and children have a lot of time to themselves, and they get engaged in these acts at an early age. For example, in 2021, a report from researchers from Makerere University listed marijuana, cocaine, shisha, heroin, crack, cigarettes, and alcohol to be some of the most misused substances by Ugandan youth. And this is just doesn't need any scrutiny. You just go out on the streets, you go out on in certain sports and bars, you will see young people smoking comfortably with others around them. What do you think can be done, especially for the young people? Because this is where we have the biggest number of consumers of these products. How can we be able to address this issue, first of all, in terms of the law, but also in terms of our society responding positively to these people? Because they need our help, but sometimes it's hard to, first of all, trace, and also hard for someone to break the addiction. What would be your advice, Council?
Now, first, before you've talked about young children smoking weed and doing all sorts of activities, the nightlife, the social life, and other vices that are really rare and they raise eyebrows within our social fabric. But we mustn't forget why I have criticism for those who make policy, and that's the Attorney General, the justices, the judges, the police, the ministers, and the chief executive of the country, the president. Children are being enlisted in the ADF in the Congo, and they are taking up arms against the state of what? Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, Chifesi, Illuminati. One minister talked about Illuminati. They're all conscripting young children. So it is not something casual. It's something that goes even to the security of the country. Now, we need as a nation to set up a red line that should not be crossed in terms of abuse. And it comes from, one, the law. I have told you, if something is not prohibited under the law, then you cannot use it as a basis, a policy, a mere policy, which is not an act of government. Because an act of government is a reflection of the policy of government that is created in parliament. Then the byproduct is a statute that controls, enforces, prohibits, but also punishes promotion, cultivation, and using narcotics as a normal retail business. There's nothing business about narcotics except for those rare circumstances we just talked about the show, medicinal purposes. You see, even in sports, narcotics cannot be allowed as drug enforcement. So if you have the South African athlete, if you have if you use hormonal enhancements that make you look like a man and you can't compete, there will be questions. For runners, like I'm not so certain, and boxers, those who play contact sports, football, and you see, these are items that are available for our young people. And if you look at the statistics, even the so-called celebrities have met an earlier death. And everything has been rotating around. Now, we should not celebrate narcotics abuse or uncontrolled narcotics abuse. That's the first thing. And this goes back to the family fabric. Father and mother, once you decide to bring up children, we cannot be seen to celebrate the usage of uncontrolled narcotics. That is on basic, on family. Now, on level of government, family, basic unit of society, level of community, community leaders should be out there to give reports and report cases of narcotics abuse to the police. The policy leaders who are in government at top level should have policies and should inject funds in ensuring that our young people minds that are supposed to be innovative on issues of creation, arts, and other issues are not wasted in mental health rehabilitation programs. Because it also puts a strain on the health sector. If you look at Butabika and the people being wasted, whose lives are being ended in Butabika, you understand? I don't think a government that is struggling to paying medical doctors, not especially psychic, or what do you call it, psychologists, counselors, you understand? Now, government must also be vested, or the National Drug Authority, as the statutory body mandated to control this, to have programs of rehabilitation. Because you see, narcotics abuse is called getting hooked. You get hooked. Now, the purpose, or the purpose of agencies like the NDA, the Ministry of Health, the Uganda Police, specialized, and I insist, I hope the IGP is listening, specialized unit in the Uganda Police Force to do enforcement, drug enforcement unit, the Uganda Police, just like they have the canine unit for dogs, to sniff out the narcotics. They should equally have people who are skilled in ensuring that the trade, it is a risky business to deal with drug trafficking. It is risky business to vend marijuana on the streets of Kampala. KCCA should come in. It should deny them licenses. KCCA has, and you see, the prevalence rates is among its communities that are mostly in urban centers.
Slummy areas.
And these are preserves of urban authorities like KCCA, the Ministry of Children, the Ministry of Education. Young people smoke weed in school. The Ministry of Labor, Culture. I've seen the government issue out 60 billion to performing artists who are going to play songs like Chai Wenjai, Njagala tugwendeke Juba tunywe sada, tugaye nkwacho ebiruma abayaye, you understand? Promoting a culture that will come up and eat up, promoting a culture of cannibalism. I will call it drug cannibalism, to make it appear like it is stylish. And the Prime Minister cannot be seen associating with celebrities who abuse drugs, because the law.
I've seen music videos, I'm sorry to interrupt, where musicians openly, before the camera, do these drugs or smoke. I've seen skits. I've seen so many. Media, basically media has not been actually regulated in this space. Do you think also the law, in case we have it back, should also have media in mind as what people consume? Because this is not one song, it's not two songs, but it's a whole myriad of music and artists who are well known that in their videos they always have someone either smoking or chewing those leaves. Yeah, and you see, I think it's a blessing in disguise that the law was nullified
And then let's watch what parliamentarians and the ministries in charge. You see, it affects the whole sector. Actually, the line Minister of Defense should be up in arms to ensure that narcotics drugs, while they are dealing with cattle rustling as a problem of a few cattle rustlers in Karamoja and Pakot regions in Kenya. You understand? They are dealing with the entire Uganda, a population of the youth. You understand? An army. If the ministers and the executives of this country, the chiefs of this country, do not realize that the zombie apocalypse is coming, you understand? Because you see, narcotics have the effect of creating euphoria.
The excitement and happiness.
Excitement and happiness, and believing that they can do something that is actually impossible to do. You've seen them
jumping off buildings,
ready to die for a political candidate, yet it's not worth it. You see, narcotics abuse also creates hallucinations. A person being in a state of creating a state of affairs that he creates their own world. You understand?
That's non-existent.
That is non-existent. You understand? And you see, and I don't want the viewers to misquote me. I have seen one of the politicians in this country, very popular, with a history. I don't know whether he uses, calling himself the people's president. And with his minions and supporters carrying out the same, attracting the wrath of the state to murder. Because the state and those who are holding the gun interpret it as an act of subversion. Yet in actual sense, it is a diverse effect of drug, narcotics, abuse. Most of those youth who died in the 2020
November
riot, the elections, and those who died, you understand, because of euphoria and hallucinations, you understand, were either high on controlled substance or they have a history. And you see, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Now, once a policeman who has a gun and the youth are rioting, they're trying to project a political message, you understand? They must have at the back of their mind what is driving this youth to come and confront the state the way they are confronting the state. If they do not find that, because the writing is on the wall, you understand, then we shall continue to have police engagement with the citizens and we shall have lives lost. You see, the danger and my fear and my pain is that those young people who are supposed to be productive somewhere in a factory or creating an app like Facebook, or who are creating airlines, aeroplanes, space shuttles, are busy singing slogans that are clear indicators that they are high on controlled substance, and the policymakers have done nothing. So that's why the policymakers like NDA should put rehabilitation programs they call them community outreach programs, something like that, that corporate liaison with the community. They should give back to the community, but not giving up. It's their duty to ensure that the community within which they operate has a sober state of mind and is also actually productive for the benefit of the country. Now, narcotics abuse enhances confidence. A shy girl will be able to sing on the stage because they've consumed narcotics. Now, this confidence is the confidence, not of performing a positive act, but it's the confidence of a daredevil. A daredevil. What in law we call Dutch courage. You consume something and it gives you a state of mind that you can make it. But you see, it's founded on a non-existent foundation. Once the confidence, the daredevil confidence, moves away, you understand? It creates a very bad mental health state called depression.
Yeah.
And depression leads ultimately to suicide acts or suicide tendencies.
Yeah.
And the penal code, which is another law that Dr. Diana Twine and the police should look at, prohibits against suicide acts, prohibits against one taking their own life. As a believer, if you take your own life, you go straight to hell. It's a one-way ticket to what?
Yeah.
To hell. So, but you see, because taking drugs or narcotics is such a bad, uncontrolled narcotics, is such a very, very bad aspect, understand? It is also believed through scientists to create kleptomania, theft. A young person, senior one, once their pocket money is done because of taking cocaine and weed, njai and nkwacho, you understand?
Which is expensive.
Which is very, very expensive. A stick of weed could go as high as 5,000.
Yeah.
Now, you need to take an average of about 10 to be in the vibe, in moods. Now, if this young person or this minister is consuming, the young person will have to steal the pocket money of other people's to be able to sustain the lifestyle.
Yeah.
The minister who consumes narcotics, I am not saying ministers consume narcotics, but a minister who consumes narcotics to sustain this lifestyle. You see, I told you it's too addictive. It is too addictive. It's like a fat kid getting addicted to cake. They have a want to. They want more and more and more. In the great opium wars in China, the Chinese took opium to an extent that they will cause riots. They will rob banks. They will kill anyone to get a shot of pot or crack. The whole nation was declared to be
desperate.
You become desperate.
Yeah.
Because you're taking it, you become confident. You can do anything. You're a daredevil.
Yeah.
You understand? If it means to throw a stone against the president or the convoy of the head of state, you'll be able to do it because you are under an hallucination that it is easy. Yeah. Yet what you're calling for is your ultimate demise. Threatening the peace and the security of the head of state. Now, if you see the events that are happening in Uganda, if you see the riots on social media, you should not take them right. If you see the hate speech, you see, if you see the field of communication on social media,
absolutely,
in terms of how when a person dies, you understand, and people come out and utter issues, senseless, cavalier statements, comments, videos, you understand, emojis and all these other things. You see, this could be in the cyber world, but surely one day, once these issues of narcotics are not dealt with decisively, they will come in the physical.
Yeah.
They will come in the physical. Don't forget, they're not very far away. We have fire in Sudan. Sudan and the Arab worlds are high consumers of narcotics.
And you can see
we have instability in Somalia. Global research has shown that the Somali community is the highest consumer of cat,
Yeah.
or mira, or enkwacho. You understand? Now, there's no stability there. You understand? If you find if you find the very many, the over 10 rebel groups that are in the Eastern Congo, you understand? The most lucrative crops that are being cultivated there, apart from cassava and yam,
Yeah.
is mira, weed, poppy. If you look at the janjaweed mercenary force in Darfur, janjaweed, the name of the criminal gang tells it all. Janjaweed.
Yeah.
It is a criminal gang or criminal society based on narcotics abuse, slavery of women, enlisting children soldiers, all the nastiness, or the nastiness of what the worst in a human being can come from. Now, if the country allows the decision of the Supreme Court to stand, the Constitutional Court to stand, you are going to create a Uganda that will bring out the nastiness of a human being, the nastiness of the youth, just like you see on what they're doing on social media. They will substitute empathy with hate. They will substitute love with murder. And they will substitute service above self with corruption.
Absolutely.
And theft.
Yeah.
So, for those who are watching, including the president of the country, that is what will happen if the issue of narcotics. They will substitute parish development model to organ trafficking and human and enslavement of women. So the country will also substitute development of a nation for posterity purposes to a quick fix, because everyone is out there to get a quick dose of cocaine, crack, poppy, or enkwacho.
Yeah.
Now, one jurist wrote that the law grows with the growth of the people. The narcotics law ought to have grown with the growth of the country called Uganda.
Yeah. We're coming back, Council, from our last session. Of course, we're going to discuss the laws and what, of course, direction we can take. My friend, we are still, of course, analyzing the illicit use of drugs in Uganda. The law has just been repealed, and of course, we've looked at some of the adverse health and social effects that could come from this. Now, Council, when we return, give us direction, because it seems if this law is not retabled, or if this nullification is not actually overruled, which is not a possibility in this case, since you said, of course, the Constitutional Court is governed by the law and it's following the law in doing whatever it is doing currently, we are headed for trouble. Now, what do you think is going to be the steps that can be taken? Should we put back this in Parliament? Should it be actually taken back to the higher courts, like you said? What directions could we take? But also, give us a few tips on how parents, how head teachers, professionals, and other people can be able to contribute to a very healthy society that is drug-free. My name is Anthony, and we are with Council Lufunya. We are returning shortly for our final segment. Please don't touch your dial.